the question about mechanism before borrowing, actually we have a very elaborate mechanism in Kenya. I really don't think the issue is adding more mechanisms, etc. It is true one could add a checklist, but frankly, there is the equivalent of a checklist in National Treasury in terms of what needs to be done. They know exactly what needs to be done. Approvals that need to be given, granted, etc., including by you. So I don't think there is any. The problem is not, I think, there. The problem is when those are not followed. I mean, those sort of guidelines are not followed. And I think if you look at all the things that are problematic to you and to the public, you can say that there was a bit of, let's say, untidiness in the process that was there, or that was used. And so we have borrowed without having, let's say, well, we borrowed, but haven't had sign-offs through the entire process, or even borrowed without having parliamentary, let's say, blessing for the borrowing envelope and the specific elements that are there. So I think the issue is, to me, is not adding more laws. As a matter of fact, even this one of monitoring, it is there, in terms of monitoring. But the issue is, how seriously do we take it? I mean, do we really have a conversation about it? I mean, frankly, it's a bit like me going to my doctor and sort of having a conversation with the doctor, and I complaining about this problem here, there, and he looking at me and sort of saying, Governor, you're good, why don't you go? I mean, have satisfied the requirement of meeting the doctor, but he hasn't pushed me and to tell him really how things are and really checked, etc. So I think the issue is more that, rather than, having, at least in my estimation, having additional layers of let's say, control. The controls we have are just fine if we would use them correctly, aggressively, etc. Senator Kilonzo did ask several questions. I've dealt with some of them, but I think here I want to stress, and actually some of the questions that you raised related directly to the SGR. The only point I would make here is that, yes, we as advisor to government do get involved in some of these discussions. And I think the issue is the sum, right? I cannot push myself into a conversation, even though maybe there's a rumor of a conversation, etc. We don't quite do that. I think you understand the point. So I think the issue here is making sure that we are that we provide our input, and also you provide your input in some of the things. So I think the process is there. The issue is, when is it used? When is it not used? Senator Tangula raised some questions about very specific, does it worry me that we have this much that is going to debt service in terms of revenues and in terms of, let's say, even expenses? Oh yes, it really worries me. It really worries me. And I think we have been beating that drum, reminding you as legislators, and indeed reminding the population, reminding the other elements of the executive, that we are running out of space. And if I were to be very, let's say, to paint a picture, you can imagine somebody who has borrowed, a mortgage loan. You have a mortgage, etc., and you have, let's say, income of, let's say, well, let's just say 300,000. Just a well-paid person, government official, or should we even say a banker? 300,000. That's good money in Kenya. But then a mortgage for a house, I don't want to calculate the price, where actually on a monthly basis, they will be paying 200,000. 200,000. I think all of us instantly would say, this person must be crazy. Because the 100,000, what are you going to do that you're left with? You cannot even deal with all the other issues that you must deal with. The household expenditure, and even saving for the future, etc. Things can go wrong. So I think the point is absolutely clear. That's why we've been making this point that we need to be clear the direction that debt is taking, and indeed the direction that debt is taking us. Because the time is now. The time is now. It's not to next year. It's not in 2 years' time. It is today that we have to start that journey. So absolutely clear that's why I personally was very grateful to have this conversation with you, because I think it starts a conversation based on solid information. And that's really why we spend so much effort to give you a very detailed presentation so that everything is with you.